A to the K.
A to the K.
A to the K. We're stepping it up to full gear to review AEW's Full Gear. Hello, welcome to the A2theK Wrestling Show. And what's that I hear you say? Are we available on ProWrestlingTees.com? Why, yes, we are. As of this week, you can find us on ProWrestlingTees.com /A2theK Wrestling, so you can get all our cool t-shirts and stuff. And yeah, just,
Or as Lacey Evans would put it, A2theK.
A2
That's
the K.
what you look for.
I
joke, Lacey. We love you.
We do love Lacey. Even Mick Foley. Mick Foley said it in the most Mick Foley way, didn't he? A to the K. It's just like, being right
Everyone
here.
has their own unique take.
Yeah, we're right here on A to the K. It's like cheap heat.
I'm not trying to pick favourites here, but Griffey, he did it best.
Yeah, love Griffey. He did say to us, let's run it back. So let's get him back on.
We said he was a rising star. Now his star has risen. So
certainly
be cool to speak to him since everything that's happened could be cool. Will be cooler. But I know, although we're talking about AEW, we're talking about
we are talking about AEW.
Let's talk about some Full Gears.
Let's talk about Full Gear. What a pay-per-view this was. Let's dive right in. So format-wise, I guess we're going to go down the highlights shite route, but we can just chat about stuff, see what happens. But obviously, the show kicked itself off. Well, obviously, we did have the pre-show.
I personally didn't see the pre-show. I think you did, Carl. So if you've got any particular notes from that, then I'm happy to hear them. But I didn't catch the match, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I thought the pre-show was fine, but I think it probably wasn't highlight or shite worthy. It was just
fine.
It was fine. But I'll tell you what was better than fine, Anthony, because I fucking loved it. I loved everything about it. Is MJF versus Darby Allin. What a way to kick off a pay-per-view. Controversial. Probably my match of the night. That's probably one of the only downsides to Full Gear is how can you top that match for the rest of the show?
The thing is, I think it's a really difficult, they put on, and I'm not even, we sound like proper marks with this, but I'm fucking going for it. They put on such a good pay-per-view that it's even really hard to suggest a match of the night, because I totally get where you're coming from. I don't know, you might be surprised at that because Darby Allin was involved. These two were fucking brilliant together. I loved MJF in the ring, just being a fucking show off. Basically, he's got such athleticism that he just got to really display it here. He's a big guy, but he's not the biggest guy. So watching him dominate the likes of Darby Allin is just it's exactly the kind of way he would function. You know what I mean? The whole match was just fucking brilliant. The pair of them really did fucking well. Even that goofy sort of rolling around thing they do, because they were both competing to try and get the roll up, was just fucking funny.
Do you know what though? It was good.
Really
There was a couple of little moments like that, where they both had the shoulders on the mat and they were both lifting their arms off at the same time and stuff. They are a bit kind of goofy, kind of indie type things, but the crowd was into it, and I didn't mind it either. To be fair, it was nice to see a little bit of.
I kind of liked it because they were both it's like a weird display, wasn't it? They're both equal in each other, so how do you get the win kind of thing. I quite liked it. But the reason I say it's hard to pick a match of the night is because no spoilers for later on, but I'm torn because the payoff to such a long storyline, which we will get to, how can that not be a match of the night? It's so difficult to pick one. It really is.
No, it is. No, it genuinely really is. But I don't know what it was. Obviously, we talk about MJF his promo capabilities and stuff like that, but it's just he always reminds you when you see him in these big matches of just he's so fucking good in the ring as well. It's mad that he can do both so well. Obviously Darby always delivers, and he puts his body on the line, does some crazy kind of stuff. But I wanted to call out just some really incredible moments in this. So firstly, that code red counter that MJF did, I've never seen that move countered like that before. It was brutal. I fucking loved it. Popped for that really hard. Then we have the actual pop-up code red that Darby manages to hit. So that one was just fucking mental as well. And then obviously the big kind of the selling points for MJF was his knee. So he was selling the knee all the way through, but he was still hitting some crazy stuff. So the tombstone onto the apron, powerbomb onto the knee. MJF selling it all throughout, and I like the fact as well with this, because what I feared is there was going to be loads of interference. I feared Sting was going to be getting in there and stuff like that, and he kind of marshalled it on the outside. There was a point where Wardlow and Shawn Spears were about to come down, and Sting was like, "Nah, that's not happening." And it was good. It was just enough to create the distraction, but it wasn't like, "Oh God, like there's loads of interference going on," like sometimes they can do. So I feel like even that bit they got right. But it was funny as well. I don't know whether you noticed when watching this match. It was really pissing me off when MJF kept like adjusted his fucking tights every 2 minutes, and I was like, "Oh, this is doing my head in." Like, get some bloody tights to fit. But then it turns out towards the end he's got the diamond ring in there, and that's how he ends up, hitting Darby. So I don't know if it was intentional or whether he did just have some tights that were a bit too big for him.
It wouldn't surprise me if it was intentional, though.
Yeah, like if it was
He
just
puts a lot
absolute,
of thought in, a lot more thought in than you give him credit for.
yeah, it was an absolute masterclass from him. To be fair,
It was.
he was
And
he was fantastic.
I have to echo your sentiments over the whole Sting thing. I think it's logically explained why there wasn't interference, because we didn't want any interference. But at the same time, you go, well, he's got backup and Darby's got backup, so why wouldn't they help? So I love the fact that they kind of dealt with that and was like, no, they're gonna have this match and they're gonna have it like properly. And Sting, like you say, sort of explain that in a storyline sense. So there wasn't like a ton of distraction or a ton of interference. So yeah, I totally agree that was a particularly good part of it, because we didn't want this match interfered with, really.
No. So yeah, for me, I know it is difficult, but yeah, this was my match of the night. I absolutely loved everything about it. I think for these two as well, two of them, the four pillars of AEW, of the originals, like what a bright future for this company, because them two are megastars already. So yeah, I loved it. Thought it was excellent.
Indeed.
We then also had the Lucha Brothers defending their tag team titles against FTR in what was also a really good match, I thought. How did you feel about this one?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I've always been a bit up and down on FTR, to be honest with you. But I think ultimately they're sort of deep into kayfabe, so they keep making noise about not being happy and stuff like that, and it's like almost like echoing the way they were as they were leaving WWE. But it just seems more and more obvious that it's kind of deliberate, in a character sense. Like, of course they are. Like, that's the sort of mentality of their characters at the moment. That being said, they can always work really well, and I don't know what you were expecting finish wise, but I think it was the right finish. I think I absolutely love the Lucha Brothers. I think we both agree on that. The Lucha Brothers are just amazingly impressive to watch anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know where it takes them from here, but I thought probably enjoyed it more than I expected to. I was always going to enjoy it because the Lucha Brothers, and that's no disrespect to FTR, but I probably enjoyed it more than I thought I would, in all honesty.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, to be fair. I think we'd already seen it, hadn't we? We saw them lose the AAA tag team titles to FTR, so this was kind of like, I think it was almost a foregone conclusion that Lucha Brothers were winning this, so I was kind of less, especially it was a little bit of a come down from the MJF Derby match, but then also with the outcome, in my mind at least, being so like already determined, I was just a bit like, a little bit less invested in it.
I take your point there, yeah.
But to be fair, obviously, as we said, Lucha Brothers with amazing offense again and unique and crazy stuff that they do. I also think there was maybe one too many, false finish attempts in this, and it's good. It's good to obviously keep the crowd on the toes and stuff, and especially when some of the points I'm making of, I feel like it was already pretty much a foregone conclusion. It did get me on the edge of my seat a little bit, which I suppose is what you need to do when you do think it's like that. But yeah, it did feel like a bit of
no schoolboy pins, no.
Well, that's all you need to do. Just get one of them, and that's it.
Protected, man, protected.
So, yeah, I agree. I think it was a really solid match, and I think it was the right outcome. But yeah, to your point, I don't know where they go next now, who the next challengers are going to be.
I mean, it'd be nice to see someone come up now who, like, maybe we didn't expect. Or honestly, I don't know how you feel about this. This might be a bit from left field, but Max Caster and Anthony Bowen's getting a bit more of a push. We've been seeing them more and more lately.
Yeah, I would.
I'm not saying they have to win, but certainly as a challenger for them to put them in a bit more prominence, I think it'd be a good show.
I legit think the Acclaimed are fantastic. I think it would be great for them to get some exposure against the tag team champions. So I think based on the win-loss records as well, that they're clearly up there in the rankings. So you'd have to imagine that their time's going to be coming pretty soon. So fingers crossed that it is.
Yeah, I mean, your time is up, my time is now, as John Cena would say.
Yeah. Do you remember? I mean, I remember when I first saw them, I was like, "Oh, these are just John Cena guys." These, and then I think I was just completely like held my hands up like literally a week or two later. And was like, "Okay, these guys are great."
I mean, you can't not make the connection. John used to come out and do his freestyle when he was a heel, but never to the level that Max Caster's doing it.
No.
So it's like you can make the comparison, but then when you actually watch them, you go, "No, Max is like he's probably more about the freestyle than he is wrestling." To be fair.
Yeah, yeah. To be fair, I mean, the pair of them are actually they're so good for each other. I think Bowens is like the perfect hype man, isn't he, for him?
Oh
And
yeah.
obviously they both are really talented in the ring as well. But yeah, they've just got something which is a bit unique and a bit fresh. Everyone seems to love the promos, or like the
But
raps
people
and
are
stuff
waiting
that
for
they're
it.
doing. So
Like I know, there's obviously infamously went too far, with the Varsity Blondes that time. But everyone they love it. Like people proper hyped over the Daniel Bryan situation the other week. People love it when he's edgy, but then he has to toe the line between edgy and offensive, which is a very difficult line to toe at the moment. So
yeah, agreed. So yeah, the next match to talk about: Miro versus Bryan Danielson, the final of
ooh,
the tournament eliminator. Beat the shit out of each other, didn't they?
they beat the shit out of each other.
It's a weird one. This I was never truly sure who was going to win this. There was a long period of time where I think we spoke about it on last week's show. I was like, I don't know which way it's going to go because I thought Hangman was going to win the main event, and I thought if he does, I don't think they'll go into a program with Bryan Danielson. So I thought they're going to need a heel to win it. So I was like, oh, Miro will definitely win it. But then I was kind of like, well, they're not going to have Danielson lose at this point. So I was proper to and fro
Mm.
with it, but eventually, it was Danielson who picked up the win, and yeah, it
How
was.
do you feel about like? Do you think this is as effective as they think it is though? Like, definite banger of a match, no qualms there. But in terms of the finish, do you think Danielson taking the loss to Miro? Do you think that had the impact it should have, or do you think he should have took it to someone who was less established?
Um, well, Danielson won, didn't he? So
Oh fucking
Danielson,
hell! Sorry.
yeah. Sorry,
I was on the wrong place.
I was probably confused here because I think I thought it was going to be a heel that won it. So I was like adamant, and then it was only like literally just before the bloody pay-per-view. Effectively, I was like, no, Danielson's going to win this. It makes sense.
Why was I convinced Miro won?
I don't know. But
Jesus
yeah,
Christ. Okay, I barely watched that match, Carl.
okay.
Clearly.
But no, I
Oh
think.
my god, I've had in my head all day. He's won. Why have I done that?
Well, yeah.
Anyway.
No, I think it was a fantastic, fully brutal kind of just let's beat the crap out of each other. Danielson's been doing that in every single match he's had in AEW. Every time you see his chest, I'm just like that's ridiculous. But
Weirdly though, he's fucking loving life, isn't he?
oh yeah, he's obviously a bit of a fucking sadomasochist, isn't he? But
I think so.
I love the fact. Well, I love, but I also kind of think they're overplaying it a bit. But the whole Miro has got a weakness with like DDTs or whatever because that played a part in this again. But obviously, yeah, I think the finish of it with having.
It's an unusual weakness, isn't it?
Mm,
To be fair, like I don't know, I kind of don't get it, but
no, I like the fact as well. The finish of it still kept Miro looking strong because he didn't tap out. So I think it was important he didn't ruin Miro because he's obviously just lost the TNT title, being away for a bit, trying to find his god and stuff, and now he's come back and just suffered a loss again. But I think they had to do it in such a way that it wasn't going to really harm him, and I think that they managed to do that. So, yeah, all in all, clearly you didn't even fucking watch it, but all in all,
I convinced myself Miro won as it should have been. Totally disagree with this finish.
yeah, it's terrible, terrible.
No, like joking aside, like I would have preferred a Miro win.
Yeah,
Like, don't be wrong, I've got a lot of respect for Danielson. I'm not upset that Danielson won, but if you were asking me who I wanted to win, I would have said Miro. And you can maybe call me on my bullshit if I put something wrong in the predictions. I can't remember what I predicted. I think I said Miro.
I think you did. To be fair, yeah. And I think because we
I
were
had a
chatting.
shocker overnight, so I know I didn't get it right.
I think because we were chatting about it though, and without giving spoilers away for the main event for anyone who hasn't seen it, but let's be honest, everyone probably has. I think we were kind of under the impression that, you know, I think in our minds we were like, oh, Hangman Page is definitely going to win the main event, so it needs a heel to win this, which is why I think because I think we were like, oh, they're not going to do face versus face, are they? But yeah, but
I don't need the
interesting.
Indeed.
So the next match to talk about, I really like this match actually. It was a bit messy, but it was obviously Lucha Brothers versus. No, it wasn't. It was. We did that. We did that one already. It was Super Click versus Jurassic Express and Christian Cage. So this one kind of reminded me a little bit of like old school Attitude Era, hardcore matches. They're getting like similar vibes to like Shane McMahon and Big Show. Just fighting in like the crowd and climbing shit and stuff. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. To be fair, there was a lot of stuff going on. I think with the people who were in the match, the Young Bucks, Adam Cole. As you can imagine, there was a lot of big spotty moments in there, but even like Luchasaurus and stuff, he's so good, man. Like for someone of his size to do a bloody shooting star press off the ramp onto the concrete, you know what I mean? It's like what? It's mental.
I mean, there are some who would criticise that a man his size shouldn't be doing that kind of thing, but I think it's an excellent display of athleticism.
Yeah, at the end of the day, if you can and you don't feel like there's any risk of doing it, then there's no reason you shouldn't, in my opinion. But
I think that's the point, isn't it? If you're not causing a risk, we've seen a lot of big men try things and it hasn't landed. And obviously, when it doesn't land on a big fella, it probably is more drastic, isn't it? But you say if he knows he can do it and it's safe enough, then fucking do it, man.
Yeah, but no, I like genuinely think what I love about AEW pay-per-views is they have like. All the matches are so very different, but they all work in their own way. So if you think about it, the matches we've just been through, MJF Derby was amazing on so many levels because it's like two youth kind of products of the business, a proper kind of, gritty match between the two of them, trying to figure out which one is going to be the winner. You have Lucha Brothers and FTR, classic tag team wrestling with a bit of lucha stuff thrown in. Miro Danielson was an all-out war. Now we go on to this, which was just like a whole... like a street fight with hardcore elements and stuff. Like every single match.
I think it's funny really that Christian was involved because it had like vibes of Christian back in the Edge and Christian days, didn't it? Really.
Yeah. But I'd like genuinely loved it. I'm surprised Adam Cole obviously has had a loss here. To be fair, but at the same time, I think the outcome
doesn't count.
It did make sense. I think we all. I think you, me, and all of Instagram basically all assumed that Superclick would win in this one. So, shock value, which is what you want as well. So I liked the little kind of storyline of Jungle Boy and Christian trying to bring it out of him to hit that concerto, and he just wouldn't do it like 2 or 3 times. And then towards the end, he finally manages to bring that side out of himself and do it and stuff. So obviously it's these small things that start to help evolve a character like Jungle Boy, who... we know in his current gimmick is going to be quite a limiting factor for him in years to come. So it's going to be something which he starts to kind of grow out of and things like even.
It seems like like you say, it almost feels like the start of that evolution, doesn't it? Really.
Yeah, and I know it was a street fight. He's going to be going back to wearing his little loincloth next week, but just the fact that he had like jeans on and stuff like that, and he had a bit of a facial hair and stuff on him, he started to feel like he was evolving from that character. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. All in all, I thought it was a nice change of pace, even though it was a bit hectic and chaotic at times. There's,
you kind of have to give it a little bit of a pass because we expect these sort of matches to be a bit chaotic.
Yeah, there's always drawbacks with this kind of. I know, like Jim Cornette fucking hates them, doesn't he? But the drawbacks and stuff with these things is you need to make sure with high risk stuff that it's done safely. And so a lot of the time you can see that they're making sure that they're ready to catch somebody or. They're ready to fall or move into something a certain way. So it looks quite telegraphed,
like you say,
when you look at it.
It's really hard not to telegraph it, though, isn't it?
Well, exactly. So, at the end of the day...
Don't telegraph it and maybe not catch him is a fucking dangerous prospect,
Exactly. So, but they're the only minor drawback. You'd have to be clutching at straws there. But, no, it gets a clear highlight for me.
Yeah. No, I'd agree. Totally agree.
So the next one, I don't know whether you want to do quite a bit of talking on this one because I know you were super hyped for it. Okay. No,
I will. I'll do it. Let's start this. I was super hyped for this, and I actually think this was almost like, obviously, sorry for those who don't know what the match was. Punk versus Kingston. This is why you do this. Punk versus Kingston, right? Not Kofi. We're not on that side now. Come on. So you know what? This was pretty much what I was expecting in a way. Like I thought Punk was out to prove a point with this because obviously so many people have gone on about like he's rusty and he's not done much with AEW and so on and so on. I feel like this match, this just out and out fucking war between the two of them, was almost like to prove a point to us, the viewer, and us, the audience, that Punk can still fucking go in a way. Like it wasn't a technical wrestling match, but it was a fucking brutal one. And obviously, I mean, we opened with that sort of back fist before the bell from Kingston as well, and it just proved that it felt so real because they clearly just didn't like each other. Obviously, it is a story ultimately, but they sold it so well in the promos before it. They held back. I think you mentioned it when we were doing This Week in Wrestling. The Punk actually even specifically said they weren't showing much, like, in terms of that backstage sort of argument they had on Dynamite. They didn't want to give too much away, so we were ready for this. Like, they have not gone at each other to this point, and I think it just led for a really good match. And again, different from everything else on the fucking card.
Yeah, it was. You know, for so many, like this was almost like a grudge match, wasn't it? So again,
Yeah.
it was like a bit of a brawl type thing. But yeah, you just felt like that back fist before the bell even rung set the tone, didn't it? It was just like,
really
you
did.
know, Kingston wasn't asked. He wants a fight and he wants to beat the shit out of Punk, and that was the whole tone throughout the whole thing. What did you make of the fans starting to turn on Punk and boo him?
Um, I don't know. I was a little bit surprised, but then I'm like, is that what they're going for? Because the fans do like Kingston,
Mm.
and the way they sold everything, like the way he told his story, and it's not like Punk has like proven that this was false. He talked about Punk being this asshole ass kisser on the Indies, and he wanted to look up to him, and he got nothing back. And like I was sold on that story as well. I could totally believe Punk being like that.
Mm.
And I don't know if maybe that's been the desired effect, and we're going to see a heel Punk coming up. Um, but the fans picking up on it as quick as they have and booing him is probably a bit surprising, let's say.
Yeah,
But I don't know,
I
maybe
mean,
it's a testament to how they've sold this so far.
yeah, you know, it wasn't like, oh, you know, John Cena kind of heat where everyone was just like fucking booing him, like, because they hate him. You know, it was a lot of "Let's go Kingston, CM Punk." You know, like a lot of those kind of things. They would clearly love both of them, but it was just, and you know what? There was. I want to get your thoughts on this as well. Now that I've just mentioned Cena, the weird homage that Punk did to Cena as well. I don't know whether you picked up on it in the match. He did the shoulder barges and then the little thing as he's about to do when he sets up a five knuckle shuffle
Well, right.
right in the middle of the match,
I
and then he even put his hand up like he was about to do the "you can't see me" thing, and the fans that like that's when they started booing a lot. But obviously they were already starting to boo him before then.
but you see, it's things like that that make me go. They wanted the booze, didn't they? This is
Yeah,
like they're clearly turning Punk, and it's nice that the fans are following what they're trying. Because I weren't sure that's what they were going for because I'm so used to like it sounds bad, and I'm not trying to bash WWE, but I'm so used to them like trying to do something that we just didn't realize they were trying to do. If you know what I mean. So that like that
yeah,
didn't land because they wanted him to be popular. Apparently, even AEW. I don't even need to come at WWE. AEW's done this a lot with Cody. I feel they've missed the mark with Cody to what the fans' reaction was to what they thought it was going to be.
hmm
So maybe I'm just a little bit cautious, but I do think this is the aim, and I don't know. It felt right. It didn't feel odd that he was getting that sort of reaction, like you say,
yeah,
especially at the points he was.
yeah.
And
And I think
I'd never picked up on the John Cena the reference, but that makes a lot of sense.
yeah, I'll have to try and find like some highlights or something and send it over just to show you. But I think Tony Khan was quoted as well as saying it reminded him of Rock versus Hogan, in the sense of, you know, when they started to turn on the Rock and cheer for Hogan in that
Yeah,
moment. So yeah, a bit of a,
nice.
you know, I can kind of see the comparison, but it's slightly different. But yeah, all in all, I thought it was a great match. It was brutal. Obviously, there was you know, blood and stuff from I think both of them. I can't remember, definitely from Punk. And yeah, it
Oh yeah, I
was.
mean the picture of Punk going around the internet now is his face all bloodied has been quite a popular one, hasn't it, since Full Gear? Like,
Yeah. So I don't know. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And you know, I enjoy Eddie Kingston as well, and I hope that we do get to see more of him. But yeah, I wonder what's next for Punk. It has been a little bit of a fits and starts, and I was not the biggest fan of the Team Taz stuff. I won't lie. I was a big fan of Darby. I wasn't a fan of Team Taz. I'm a big fan of Kingston, so I hope it's not like another like one now. I
I
want to see
think
something else.
this has been the closest to an actual feud he's had, though, and this has been like built up over 2 weeks to this match, so it's not been the longest feud ever. The Team Taz stuff and everything before it was really just, it felt to me like just Punk filling time. And I think we've both said this previously, so I'm not trying to act like smart ass now. It's clearly obvious. But even before Tony Khan came out and said, like, we're not using Punk fully yet, it's a slow burn kind of thing, we were both saying, like, he can't just come in and jump into every feud he likes. Like, there's already the story's being told, so you can't just bring someone in and he'd be involved in everything. So for me, I'm like, I don't think we can even see where this is going yet, because he was killing time. He's had this, which I think is done. Maybe, I don't know if they might have another match out of this or another continuation in some way out of this, because there's like subtle hints that, like, it's not like we've walked away with Kingston's and Punk's respect or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, Kingston still fucking hates the guy, so there may be more miles to this one.
It's one of them, innit? At the end of the match, CM Punk stuck his hand out to shake his hand, and Kingston just sacked him off, basically. So it's almost like he did earn his respect, but Kingston wasn't.
Yeah, sorry, I probably phrased that wrong, but I mean, like it wasn't like that whole moment of like we've earned that now.
Yeah,
he still hates Punk. Like, that's how they're selling it. So you makes you wonder if there may be more to this particular story. But beyond that, I think we're just gonna have to build something from scratch for Punk after that, because like you say, he's kind of done nothing. And like you say, maybe it feels a little bit fits and starts, but I think he's just been trying to get some younger talent over before building into anything proper.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Definitely keen to see where it goes next. But yeah, banger of a match. And then I think the final highlight to talk about, long-term storytelling at its finest.
At its fucking finest.
Yeah, I think I was... So firstly, the match quality itself was nothing short of spectacular, was it? It was incredible. The pair of them, they've got great chemistry. It showed again. I think it was a lot more skewed towards Omega than I was expecting. Like, he kind of really did take it to Hangman a lot more than Hangman took it to Omega. So that did surprise me. I think, obviously, no one has ever kicked out of the One-Winged Angel. I think a lot of people thought that Hangman was going to do that in this, but then the first person to kick out of the One-Winged Angel was, of course, Kenny Omega, because Hangman managed to get Kenny's move on him as well. So even that itself was just like, a lot of the kind of story that they've built up over time and stuff like that, even for him to attempt that and stuff like that, all kind of made sense. I think there's a few times there where I thought that Kenny had got it won. So a lot of kind of false finishes, but not too many, I don't think. But it was the thing with the books that surprised me the most in terms of where's that going, because obviously Dynamite and Rampage and stuff like that, we saw Hangman basically say, look, I screwed you guys have screwed me, we're even now as far as I'm concerned. Like, I'm telling you now, if you get involved, then, I'm going to basically beat the shit out of you both. When they kind of hobbled down, I was like, oh no, what's going to happen here? But then, that little kind of head nod from...
just such simple and effective storytelling there, wasn't it? Like, they've sort of almost gone, yeah, you've got this, like, you've got it won, and we're not going to do nothing.
Yeah.
Like, beautifully done.
Yeah. And I think...
honestly, totally the right fucking call. Like, this is the decision we've all been waiting for 3 years of AEW. Perfectly executed.
No, it's been absolutely incredible. I think as well, someone posted on Reddit before the first... was it either the... I don't think it was the All In, was it? It must have been the first All Out poster. And it had basically Jericho, Moxley, Kenny Omega, and Hangman Page. And they're the first 4 champs in that order. So it's like, Tony's come out and said as well that he's known basically since day one who his first 4 champions were going to be. So that goes to show how, when we talk about long-term booking and long-term storytelling, then if he's saying he's known from the get-go.
That's fantastic foreshadowing, isn't it? If he has known from the get-go and he's deliberately put the poster that way and that sort of thing. Beautiful little details like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But no, this has been such a fantastic payoff. Like, we've been wanting this win for so long, and I'm so glad that we've had it pan out like in this sort of long term of a story. Like we've, I think we mentioned it briefly before, but there's been so many arguments for like there's not really a place for long term booking now. You need to be able to cater to casual viewers, etc. And I'm subtly playing off the fact that I just nearly knocked my monitor over there. But there's definitely a place for this. Like, how can you not tell a story? I mean, we're in a world where wrestling apparently can't be told in a long-term story, but Marvel can spend a decade building towards a film. Like, so there's a place for long-term storytelling in any other media except for wrestling. Apparently, it's just bullshit. Like, I know they want to cater to casual fans, but like this right here. This is like, how hyped is everyone now that he's the champ because he's been fucking deserving it for that long.
I mean, there's been arguments, hasn't there, that, are there even casual fans anymore of wrestling? We always talk about booking it for the casual fan, but does that even exist? I genuinely don't know.
The irony is for me that even the stuff that's worked in WWE in recent years has been long-term storytelling by accident. Like Roman Reigns' story wasn't deliberately told, but it's a long-term story.
Yeah.
Drew McIntyre's redemption and return to WWE and built up the champion was a long-term story that wasn't deliberate. Like, all the stuff that's worked hasn't been by design, but it's been a long-term story.
That's a fantastic point,
Fucking crazy,
so it's so true, yeah. Like, they don't have, like, the foresight to go, okay, this is where this person is now, this is where we're going to take him over the next year or two to WrestleMania, whatever. They don't genuinely, like, typically do that. But yeah, to your point, like, it just so happens if they get dealt a bad hand at the time, which means things get put off or, things get delayed. It's like the whole thing with Roman, like with him at WrestleMania, he should have gone against Goldberg and that didn't happen. And basically everything ended up aligning, didn't it? All the stars aligned. And that's what made it what it was.
It's shocking. Like, you could even sometimes wonder if it's been deliberate how much they look into things like that. Because even if you look at like Kofi Mania, it was kind of accidentally by design. Like they saw the tide turning, I suppose, but it's been years of like him being on the cusp of that shot and not getting it. Even having the foresight to nod back to the whole him and Randy situation, like when they had their match, and like Kofi was then calling him stupid and stuff like that. I was like, that was all not deliberate. There's no way they planned that far back, but then they can lean back on that. So it looks like long-term storytelling.
Yeah.
And weirdly, that's the stuff that's been working for people.
It's mad,
so
isn't it?
It is long-term storytelling is still a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, went on to a totally different rant there for a sec. But the point is, this was a fantastic match and the right fucking finish. And I didn't even think about things like the Young Bucks until we had that moment. And I'm like you say, that adds a level of intrigue. Where's that going to go? Like, I actually think you're right about the whole Adam Cole screwing over Omega, and we might get Cole Omega going forward. Obviously, there's that little bit of dissension in the ranks now because the Bucks didn't interfere for Omega, so we're going to get Omega pissed with them. But obviously Cole's there for them, so then we end up with essentially the Super Click versus Omega in some way.
So
like, there's so many possibilities storytelling wise now.
My thoughts on it all, so especially with the way this ended, with the Bucks coming out and stuff, I think on Dynamite this week or Rampage, they're going to have Kenny Omega in the Bucks, and Kenny's going to take them to task for like why did you let it happen, blah blah blah. And then Cole is going to turn on Omega, and we are going to have Super Click, and Omega's going to go away for a bit. I think from what we know about him is he's working through injury. He's got a lot of stuff going on at the minute. I think now's a great time for him to just take some time off. We haven't got a pay-per-view.
I think he's going to get super kicked everywhere.
I do. But there isn't an AEW pay-per-view now until Revolution, which is going to be like February, March time. So there's a good few months there to take some time off and stuff.
I'm convinced you're right. I think the screenshot for Dynamite next week is going to be the classic Adam Cole being kissed by the Bucks, as they like to do now with that. Apologies, as I should know, with that sort of stretch he does. What's the stretch called? What's that move? It's a basic move, but
it's like a camel clutch or something, isn't it? It does.
Camel clutch, right? I'm boss with wrestling moves, so I reckon he's going to have Omega in the camel clutch, and we're going to do that thing that they always do, but it's Omega as a victim of it this time. That's how they're going Not necessarily close out the show, but that's going to be the sort of iconic screenshot from Dynamite this week. And I think you're totally right. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I think the fact is we know AEW are going to be consistent, and then this will happen, and it won't be forgotten about. Like Omega will go away for a bit, and then he'll come back, whether it's a Revolution or whatever, and he'll come back, and it's going to be.
It won't be forgotten about by them, but obviously the internet wrestling community will be like, see, Omega's been buried, and they'll totally moan about it until he eventually does come back.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But yeah, so I think it's going to be interesting because we're going to get Super Click, but then Kenny won't be their first kind of feud or whatever, if you will. Well, not first because obviously Jurassic Express and stuff were, but they're going to be coming off that loss, but they're going to be going after someone else, I think, for the next couple of months. So interesting where that goes as well. But Hangman now, so obviously it's going to be Hangman versus Bryan Danielson. He's the winner of the title tournament eliminator.
Not Miro, no.
No, Anthony, watch the fucking damn show.
Why?
Yeah, it's just come on and talk about a show that you haven't seen. I kid.
Good times.
But no, so I think that this is the most surprising thing of all, really, because you've just had Hangman win it, and then as a parallel, you've just brought in Bryan Danielson, who's white hot and hasn't lost a match yet. So for me, this has to be okay. This legitimizes Hangman even more. He's just beat Kenny Omega now. He's just beat Bryan fucking Danielson. Okay, this guy is our champ.
Yeah, so that would be a good way of doing it. To be fair, like you say, it's not impossible, but the face versus face thing is an interesting angle. But I say it's not something that's never been done before by any means. But it makes that difficult dynamic of who the crowd gets behind. I think they're definitely going to be behind Hangman. That being said, but yeah, very interesting. I'm intrigued, Carl. How are they going to tell that story?
Yeah. Very intrigued. But yeah, so I think Full Gear was fantastic. There was only one slight mark that besmirched the show, in my opinion.
I'd actually agree with you.
I just don't think this match needed to happen. So we're talking about Cody and Pac against Andrade and Black. So it just felt out of place. So if you read obviously the dirt sheets and all that kind of stuff, the original plan was for this to be a fatal 4-way match. Apparently, I think this is actually what Tony had scribbled down on his notepad. That definitely wasn't the booking for Full Gear.
No,
definitely not. I think he actually had it down as a fatal 4-way match. But yeah, the decision to make it a tag team match and stuff, I feel like it was a bad one. And I think the match itself was shit because I don't get what they were trying to achieve with it. Like, they had the infighting between Pac and Cody, like tagging each other in. And like every time Cody tagged himself in, the fans would lose their minds and boo him and stuff like that. But he's like, no, I'm still a good guy. And it's like, right. And then for no reason whatsoever, you had Andrade and fucking Malachi Black doing it later on as well in the match. And it was like, well, why are you guys doing it now? And then, essentially, the Pac ends up winning the match for the good guys. But then, out of fucking nowhere, FTR come down and start beating everybody up. And it was just like, I don't get it. What was it meant to? What were they trying to achieve with it? Like, Cody still hasn't turned heel. Like, they won. The fans hated Cody all the way through it. Then it was like he's the one left beaten down at the end, Cody, and he's there. Like, the last words before they move on to the segment is Pac okay? Is Pac okay? It's like, oh, fuck off, man. Like, where's the Cody Rhodes, right? Who fucking I absolutely loved in the first year of AEW, where he's there cutting that fucking promo about going from undeniable to fucking goddamn, undesirable to goddamn undeniable. That was a fantastic promo. The fans, he had everyone eating out the palm of his hands. Where's that Cody?
Honestly, like, it's a weird miss for AEW. This, like, I think they're taking that long to turn him heel that it's honestly getting to a point that it's almost fucking pointless. He's just doesn't. It just screams of tone deaf. How can they not see that Cody needs to turn heel? Nobody's liking him at the minute.
No.
Like, they're not liking him because of the look of the character. It's like basically just entitled, isn't he? Like, I'm going to fight you till I win because I need to win.
Well, exactly.
And if I lose once, I'm going to pretend to retire. Like, fuck off.
Yeah, he's become this
honestly,
really... Go on.
Dumb. No.
I was going to say, he's become this really just unlikable character. Like, and I don't understand how it happened. He's just this guy who, put wrestling aside to go and be on this fucking the big show, or whatever the fuck it was called, the Go Big show. What was it?
Oh yeah.
And he's there like with Rosario Dawson and fucking all these people like on it, and Snoop and that. Aren't I dead good? And then
Hollywood Cody Rhodes.
you know what I mean? And then he's there, and he's there with his little cigars and stuff like that, and the way he talks about himself. And I don't know. I don't understand what they've done with him. But the fact, as you're saying, like, how tone deaf can you be? They're literally clamoring for him to turn heel. They did all these weird little vignettes with Arn Anderson for weeks, and like that's just dropped off now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there was all this stuff where he was setting stuff on fire, and he was like, "Yeah, you're gonna."
Honestly, they've been doing this for like. He had the first year of AEW, I'll give him that. But since then, they've been doing this non-stop. Like with the TNT title. Like, I was fine with him having it. I was fine with him winning it every week. He's not allowed to go for the AEW main, like the main title. Like, ever, apparently. So it made sense that he went for that. But then he lost it and then had to dye his hair black and go all edgy for like a week. And it's like, you don't know what you want.
No.
And this is kind of an example of you don't know what you want, because at what point were Cody and Pac ever going to be a tag team? The whole match itself shouldn't have ever been. It shouldn't have been made. What was this? Is Pac a good guy now as well?
Well, exactly. So even that is weird.
I thought he was a bad guy. I don't remember him turning face.
He's still a bastard, but he's aligned himself with the Lucha Brothers, who, for Death Triangle, and they're good guys. So by proxy, he's like a good guy. But I don't know, which tunnel does he come out of, for fuck's sake?
How does that work? Like, oh yeah, I suppose since you guys are good now, might as well turn good myself. It's like, and then align yourself with the most unlikable one. Like, I don't even know. Like, and Pac-Man.
Waka waka.
Pac is ace. He's ace, and I normally enjoy every match he's in, but it's just, when you're like, why have we put these two together? Even on the other side of it, why have we put Andrade and Black? I don't even mind that as much, but why have we put these two together?
Well, none of it makes sense.
The whole match just didn't really make sense.
No, but I feel like,
and it's just another mechanism to get Cody and Black back together.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, right, and I know you joke all the time about like, oh, Cody this, Cody that, is like, as in like you don't like him and stuff. Like, I genuinely do like Cody Rhodes, but I don't. How can he come back from this? He's had a fantastic first year. His second, like, how long has he been doing this? Is this 3 years now? Or even his time?
I think AEW's been 3 years now, yeah.
Has it? So the last 2 years have been dreadful for him. He had the whole shit with Anthony Ogogo and stuff. Those promos he was cutting.
But like that, like, this is the thing. I totally agree with you, by the way. I like Cody. Like, he talks with such passion for the business. When you're dealing with Cody the person, he's an awesome guy. And I wouldn't, like, this is why I'm very careful to talk about the character on screen rather than the person, because as a person he seems like an awesome guy and he seems to absolutely love the business and has nothing but passion for it. But the character we're getting on screen is shocking, and some of the decisions are shocking. Ogogo should have won that match.
Yeah.
Why did we squash him? What did that do for Ogogo?
I mean,
Cody?
To be fair, it shouldn't have happened because he's essentially not ready. So it's like they brought him up to have a match with Cody, and then they've sent him right back down to development. So that makes him only look worse anyway.
But that's kind of the point, isn't it? It's like, well, if you're going to put him up against Cody, it's to give him the push. It's because he's ready, and you're going to give him the push. But instead, it was like just a mechanism to make Cody look good because he beat up somebody. Well, he beat somebody in a match who wasn't ready.
Yeah, he's getting.
What did that achieve?
He's getting the Triple H comparisons, isn't he? And it's like, because he is a fucking exec, and
unless this is long-term booking, and that's what they're going for.
Maybe. But like, also maybe this isn't one for now. Maybe it's one for a future segment where we put the spotlight on AEW as a company as opposed to just on an individual superstar. But I still think there's stuff missing from the first year or two of AEW that I want to see them bring back, like some of the comedy aspects and stuff like that, and some of the, the actual just raw promos that the likes of Cody Rhodes used to cut in the middle of the ring. Like, remember the fucking stuff with the Cody thing and him and Brandy, and he's all sad, and the next minute Jericho comes out and does a parody of, like, how funny was that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
there was so much great comedy, and to be honest, a lot of that was like, I don't know, like, whether COVID like affected that a little bit, because like I think on a personal level, Jericho might have gone off the deep end a little bit. For a little bit during the COVID time. But like they come at like you say, there was a lot of fun comedy and there was a lot of drive from them all. and then they had to sort of think differently and act differently during COVID. So we've got a lot of the. And it was still awesome what they did, what they achieved during that time, like they're doing the bubbly bunch and all those things when they couldn't all physically be together, but they still put them vignettes together and did all those fun bits. But I don't know.
I think it's more Tony Khan, to be honest.
Do you reckon? I was going to say, because I reckon a lot of the comedy come from the inner circle, and we're not getting as much of that now from them.
Yeah, but I think Tony Khan took a tighter hold of things, didn't he? On the reins, and basically it was like,
first year they were all creatively involved.
Yeah, I think he's basically gone, I'm booking the show now, and he wants it to be more sports and whatever. And I feel like that's cool and all, but I do feel like some stuff like that's missing. The two core bits I miss are just really impassioned promos. Which we used to see a lot more regularly early on.
Yeah, and we do still get some. I'll give them credit for that, but
yeah, and then like some of the comedic aspects of it as well. Because like I'm telling you now, like if you go back and you watch that Cody Rhodes promo versus like a promo he's cut recently, it's night and day. Like how bad it's become, whereas how great it was. Like literally, he had that crowd eating out the fucking palm of his hands with that promo. I don't know how he's fucked himself up so much.
Because and I'm still convinced of this, and I'm sorry to harp on, he's booked now as over dramatic. Like, and the two examples I give are the two examples I've mentioned previously, and I'm going to mention them again because I don't care. Going to dye his hair black because he lost the TNT title. Quite dramatic. Or I lost a match. I'm going to leave my boots in the ring. I'm done. Like, just calm down.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's just really over dramatic booking for me.
Yeah, he's having a bit of an identity crisis. I'm going to give him the same critique as I give the likes of Big E. He's like almost forgotten who he is. What is his character anymore? He's like someone who was like at one point doing push-ups in the middle of the ring and being cocky and arrogant, and Arn's fuming with him on the sidelines, and then it's you know what I mean, like that happened at one point. So it's like, okay, doesn't do that anymore. Now he comes out with this fucking big American like fucking Liberty jacket thing that he's got on and stuff, and it's like, well, what? Why are you still doing that? It kind of made sense, even though it was shit, like when he was doing it versus a go-go. It was like a US versus UK thing. Okay, maybe. But I just don't get it.
But again, like, even that, it was like, is he going to turn heel? Because a lot of people likened his attire. I think it was with a go-go, but certainly they've likened his whole American attire to, I don't know if you watched the show, Carl, but The Boys on Amazon Prime.
Oh, yeah, the superhero thing.
They likened him to Homelander, who is basically the epitome of like your Superman type character, but obviously he's a bad guy, he's an asshole. So like you go, well, is that the nod they're trying to make? Like he looks a bit like Homelander because he is like portraying the good all-American guy, but he's actually an asshole. But then you don't even get a payoff to that kind of stuff. It's like, no, we still haven't pulled the trigger. We don't know what we want Cody to be, and he doesn't know what he wants to be. All we know is he ended racism because he's with Brandy. I think that's how the promo went.
More or less, yeah. Damn, savage. That was a fucking pipe bomb moment right there.
Sorry, it was just such a shocking promo. Like, what the fuck are you even talking about now, Cody? Yeah. He's just like, honestly. And again, as a person, he seems like every interview I've seen where it's been talking to the guy, he seems like a really nice guy. But the character we're getting the last 2 years, as just I really don't know. What is this?
Yeah, no, I mean it's all from a character standpoint. Obviously, he's an absolute sweetheart, and he by all accounts, and you know, I genuinely think he's fantastic. But yeah, I wish whether he is going to go down the heel route, whether he reimagines himself to be more like he was in year one AEW. We need to do something different to what it is, because it's got to a point now where he's bringing everything down that he's in. And he's so much better than that. He should be elevating everything. So
honestly, I'll go as far as saying this: Stardust was better.
Oh, fuck.
I'll go out on a limb and say that it was better than the current Cody we've got right now.
Damn. So yeah, I don't think there's anything else we can put on that. To be fair, so in terms of
1-0 shy, but we talked about it.
We did. So in terms of ratings, then Anthony. I'm going big with this. I'm going to give it a 4.5. I thoroughly enjoyed it. There was nothing really that, other than that match we just said then, there was nothing which was bad about it. There was some fantastic stuff in there. I am still on the fence whether or not it was better than All Out. I don't know. They were very similar shows. There was good things about both of them.
For me, this was the best pay-per-view they've done. Ever. I dare say one of the best pay-per-views I've seen in a long time, but I think this is the best pay-per-view they've done. Now, it's a bit of an unfair statement because obviously this is the result of a lot of storytelling. So you can't, like, they couldn't have achieved that back then. Do you know what I mean? Had to get to this point. So maybe a little unfair, but it is the best, for me, the best pay-per-view they've done. That being said, because it's only the one negative we can take from it in all fairness, but because I can't call it like the perfect show, that wouldn't be an accurate statement. So I'd probably agree with your rating. Which have you just give your rating?
I have
I didn't
4.5.
want to spoil your rating.
4.5 out of 5.
I didn't know whether you'd said it or not, and I'm like, I don't want to spoil your rating for you, so I'm just going to say I agree with yours.
How can you do that?
Yeah, I'm having a shocker overnight. I couldn't remember if you said it or not. 4.5.
Listen, kids, don't drink, don't do drugs.
But no, I'd have to agree with you on a 4.5. But honestly, had I not have at least had a couple of gripes, I was on the edge of giving this a 5 because I think this was just executed. Everything paid off well. Like you say, all the matches were unique enough to each other that everything was sort of engaging and entertaining. Some really, like, the payoff to Hangman alone was fantastic. And I'm on the edge of giving it a 5, but I'd say because there are some criticisms I can give, I can't give it a perfect rating. So 4.5. Yeah. Totally agree.
No, I think it's fair. I think we discussed 7 of the 10 matches, and the ones that we didn't discuss were still decent as well. Probably just missing something to get him into the highlights really. So obviously Britt and Tay was still really good. The Inner Circle and American Top Team,
to be honest, but like you say, they were good. Like, just probably wasn't anything like. This isn't a slight to Tay, but I think it's more that we've probably seen better matches from Britt, haven't we? And this wasn't a bad match by any stretch, but like you say, just doesn't quite hit the highlight.
Yeah, something just felt a little bit off. I don't know whether it was the pacing or what between the two of them, but it was just a little bit. They looked like absolutely gassed by like 5 minutes in, so it was just a bit. It was just a bit odd, to be fair. But yeah, I think obviously.
I believe you were a bit out of breath as well, weren't
you? What are you implying there?
Nothing. Anyway.
So yeah, I think obviously we had the Inner Circle against American Top Team as well, which it was sloppy. It wasn't a no shite by any means, but I was really impressed with Junior Dos Santos, for example. I thought he was incredible, the stuff he did. He's not a wrestler. He was doing load of wrestler moves, took a massive superplex and stuff like that. Yeah. So what more can you say? Yeah, Dan Lambert was good as his as the little shitty heel that he is. And then terrible of me, I can't even remember what the match that we're missing is. But there was another one as well.
There was? What was it?
What was it?
So memorable. Such a good match.
I might be able to pull up the prediction series results really quick, and I'll have it on there. Talk amongst yourself. Talk amongst
myself. Hello.
Yeah.
How are you today? I'm fine.
Just you and the voices.
So glad Miro won. Can't wait to see what things happen for Miro now.
You've had a mare, really, haven't you? You've had an absolute mare.
It's a shocker overnight, honestly.
What are you playing at?
I can tell you, currently on Instagram, the big guy Ryback has started a live fundraiser. I don't even want to know what that's for.
Whether or not he should retire.
No, he's asked that question too many times now. And it was clearly a joke anyway. He wants people to say retire.
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever.
Of course.
Why would he give the option if he didn't want people to pick it, Carl?
Exactly.
You can't find it, can you?
I think it was just a pre-show. It's the only other one we haven't spoken about.
But the pre-show match, yeah. And I think we did sort of briefly mention that, but
I just remember there was 10. There was 10 matches all in all. But
10.
So that was AEW's Full Gear. That was the last pay-per-view for AEW of 2021. Hell of a pay-per-view it was. How will the cookie crumble? We're going to find out on Wednesday what the next steps are for a lot of these and what the new feuds and things are going to be. How do you do even more long-term storytelling after the biggest 3-year story has potentially come to an end for a little bit between Hangman and Kenny? So lots of new stuff to explore and do. But yeah, that was our thoughts on Full Gear. Obviously, we went through This Week in Wrestling. Gave you all our thoughts on that. Went through the Ringside Report. Went through all the news and rumours. And of course, we'll say it again, because why not? prowrestlingtees.com/A2theK Wrestling. Get yourself a t-shirt. If you want to wait till Black Friday time, in fact, I think it's like next week, you can get 20% off that t-shirt. See? We're nice to you.
And you know what?
We do.
We'll be so nice. I'll let you in on a secret. They sell other people's shirts as well, not just ours.
Shut
So
up.
you can get wrestlers' shirts too and stuff.
No. Shh. Just...
Sorry. It's Black Friday. I'm just trying to help. They can buy our shirt and then they can buy some other shirts too.
But just buy more of our shirts?
I mean, that's true. Buy them all. Buy the set.
Buy the set. I love it. Collect all four. So make sure you go and check us out on there, on all the social medias as always. And yeah, another fun-filled week. We didn't even do it's Monday. You know what that means? Because damn, we're early for once.
I know.
But yeah, we may be
shocking everyone.
Maybe potentially dropping in this week, end of the week, with another little surprise episode, potentially. So maybe
holiday special if you will.
So yeah, until then, we will see you guys potentially later this week. So take it easy, and here is AEW's Griff Garrison to say adios.
Bye.
This is Griff Garrison, and you're listening to A to the K.
A to the K. A to the K.
A to the K.